and welcome to this moment of mindful at home. I'm really grateful to be able to be with you just for a little bit today and to offer just a bit of support. Um, it's been a difficult day for many, many people, part of this difficult period that we're in. And at the same time, every moment is an opportunity. We all know if we've been practicing mindfulness and other awareness practices, or if we are on some sort of journey to waking up to the opportunities that our lives present, we know that even on these difficult days, on any given moment, we're just a moment of awareness away from a sense of greater ease, greater capacity to be with what is. And so, together here, we've gathered, we've created this opportunity just to connect, just to explore how it is that our practices are working for us at this moment, see where our challenges are. And so this is a pretty informal opportunity for me to be in touch with some of you, you to be in touch with some of me. So we have a chat line open here via Zoom. It's being replayed on Facebook Live. Really open to having anyone who's able to hear me now send out a shout out, send out a question if one comes up for you, and really just hoping to be a resource for you today. Now, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about a particular practice that I've been relying on for many years, and that I've been thinking about and exploring and practicing with in a kind of a different way at this time. And it is the S.T.O.P practice. And many of you are familiar with that as a practice that I've been offering through mindful.org, through my own projects and writings. And it's an acronym that's meant to encapsulate just how, in a portable way, mindfulness practices can support us in making the most of the opportunities that our engagements in the world present for us to kind of wake up when we might be tempted to be a little sort of unconscious. And so for me, the S.T.O.P practice encapsulates a lot. And like all mindfulness practices, has so many different applications. It's, again, just a very simple idea. It's a very simple tool that can have radical and radically transformative implications. And so let me just speak a little bit about, what the S.T.O.P practice is, and then we can explore it together in conventional ways and maybe in a slightly different way in view of the times that we're in. So S.T.O.P, it's an acronym that has been developed and offered by mindfulness teachers to support simply taking the opportunities that we find ourselves in to really wake up. So S.T.O.P, S stands specifically for stop, T for taking a conscious breath, O for just observing what is arising. When we pause, we're observing at a base level the thoughts, emotions, and sensations that are coming up for us. And we can do even more. We can expand and explore what more might be seen as we pause, take a breath, and invite observation. But for now, at that sort of core mindfulness level, the invitation is to sort of examine and explore how the practice just allows us to come home to our being in our body and to the sense of the moment as a lived experience right here, right now. And then the P is that beautiful moment where, in fact, we recognize that our lives are really pregnant with so many opportunities to serve, to take actions that arise out of the circumstances of our lives, and how it is that our mindfulness practice can support us in taking actions with intentionality as best we can, aligned with, what's arising in us for good. So P is all about proceeding. We might say proceeding with purpose, proceeding with presence, right? It's all about really inviting engagement in the world to come out of these moments in which we pause. So really that's the stop practice in a nutshell. And I think there is this very simple way in which this practice can support us just in being here in a much more lively way with ourselves, opening up to what is coming up for us right here, right now. So I'd like to offer then this practice and support, just gently guiding us to experiment with the stop practice in this relatively conventional way as a support for just checking in with ourselves in a given moment. And then we might pause, reflect on that a bit. And if you're willing, we can explore applying that practice. And I invite you to explore with me, applying that practice in a way that's that I'm exploring or altering just a bit to really help us support a more engaged practice, if you will, for these times. So stop. We begin with the S. We take a conscious breath in this moment from this place of having paused, settled, let go of whatever activity we might have been engaged in, right? So we're literally stopping, and if possible, perhaps taking our seat. If we're standing, we're just sort of pausing to stand. Perhaps as you might imagine yourself standing in mountain pose, for those who are familiar with this asana in yoga, but really it's just about standing in your dignity, sitting in your dignity. So the S is for stopping, for pausing, and taking your seat to support bringing mindfulness to this moment. So as we settle in, perhaps breathing in and out, allowing attention to rest on the felt sense of the breath as it flows into the body and out. And so at this point in the stop practice, it's really an invitation just to pause. Feel the nourishment of taking a moment to pause. Now, the pause for the stop practice can be as short as just an instant, or as long as you have time and are willing to devote to it. But for now, we'll proceed to the T, right? Which is, as I described, taking a conscious breath. So perhaps taking one very slow and conscious breath in, a full, complete breath out, and really noticing what it's like to allow your attention to rest on these sensations of breathing in and out. So continuing to just take a few very conscious, very intentional breaths. And what I mean here is we're just allowing ourselves to feature the breathing aspect of the experience of this moment in the field of awareness that is our lives. So of course there are other things going on where as we're breathing, feeling the chair beneath us or the floor, or both, right? Our feet on the floor. Perhaps if we're sitting, we're feeling the chair. You're hearing my voice, But as we take a breath, we're allowing our focus on the sensations of breathing to be featured in this moment in our experience. So we take one breath after another, just one at a time, resting in the sensations of breathing. And when we're ready, we move to O, which is simply to observe what is coming up for you as you breathe in and out in this moment. So we might use the shorthand of TES, thoughts, emotions, sensations, to remind us of what we might sort of just gently scan for as we take this moment to observe our experience. So what kinds of thoughts might be arising? If you imagine thoughts as being like clouds moving through the sky of your consciousness, just noting the thoughts as they come up for you or not. You might then intentionally invite a scan around what emotions or feelings are present. Is there some way in which we are feeling some discomfort? Some way in which we're opening to joy? Whatever is arising is perfectly okay. With this practice, we're just noticing. There's no one right or wrong way to feel. Mindfulness is about rolling out this welcome mat, allowing yourself to feel just what's here right now. So observing emotions. And then noticing sensations, perhaps. Perhaps just really, we don't quite know the words for the emotions, but we can feel perhaps a tightness around the shoulders or a kind of sinking feeling in the belly. Whatever is prominent as you invite a reflection on the sensations that are coming up for you, the invitation is to just create this spacious holding. Yes, these sensations are here now. Coolness, warmth, the breeze that you might feel from a window that might be open, the sensations associated with sound, with pausing. So with this this opportunity to observe is really just really open for us. We're observing, we're really allowing ourselves to be more fully here. And now let's move into the P. And with P, the invitation simply is to, when we're ready, noticing the fullness of the opportunity presented in this moment, to proceed, to choose how to move from this place of reflective awareness into engagement, into the next moment. So proceed with presence, all the while holding your experience with a certain kind of kindness, friendliness, willingness to be compassionate with your own experience in this moment. So without ringing a special bell, allowing the inner bell, right, that is with us always to signal a transition out of that moment of practice together. And so, yeah, the invitation is to sort of feel what that was like. Feel any way in which that moment of practice may have shifted your experience right here, right now. And to whatever extent it has, really bringing awareness to that as a way of helping you see just how mindfulness practice is for you. I sometimes use the phrase, as other teachers and friends of mine do, Yuru as opposed to guru, to underscore what I think mindfulness is inviting us into, which is this taking of our seat, taking full kind of taking ownership, if you will, understanding the great opportunity that being alive presents for us to deepen our ability to meet whatever is coming up with more steadfastness, more stamina, more resilience, and more, again, intentionality about how we want to be in the world. And so right now we're meeting, of course, in the midst of the global pandemic around COVID. But as many of us are starting to also see, it's at the same time a pandemic in the direction of shifting us into deeper, wiser relationship with each other, with ourselves, with what it means to love and to be in connection, even as we shelter in place. We are having this opportunity to see the importance of our human connections and to also notice what happens when we get afraid, the temptations we have to hoard, to kind of pull back, to once again do a new version, a whole new round of us versus them. And so for me, as many of you know, my work has really been about bringing mindfulness to bear in the social and community engagements of our time, really helping support us in looking at the ways that we get in our own way of deeper connection, more love in our lives, more understanding, more rich community with each other. And so yes, at this moment, I've been thinking a lot about, the silver lining of this time, the silver linings of this time. And this is not to minimize the great pain that we're also, many of us, feeling. So can we do both, and can we recognize mindfulness as this opportunity to support us in expanding our capacity to be with the fullness of experience, the both ands, the this and that. And on this particular day, among the more difficult aspects are a number of things for me. Being confronted with friends and colleagues who are actually feeling the effects of what very well probably is, if not definitely is, the COVID-19 disease, right? The effects of the coronavirus. So knowing people, meeting people on Zoom and realizing that they're ill right here, right now. Having others speak to having lost loved ones right here, right now. So we know this is happening. And it's having an impact on all of us. And it definitely has impacted me today to be aware of that kind of suffering. At the same time, a more social kind of suffering. Many of us have been noticing some of the news reports indicating the disparity in the experience of some of the worst consequences of this disease across racialized populations, right? So we're learning that there are great disparities in terms of the extent to which coronavirus is impacting, and COVID-19, the disease, the worst consequences of coronavirus, are having a disparate effect on African Americans in the United States. Vastly disproportionate numbers of African Americans actually dying from the disease in many of our cities and counties and places where we live. And I'm sure this is true around the world. If we look at disadvantaged populations, it's not only here in the United States, it's probably true. And I just got off an international call where someone was saying something similar was showing up in Brazil. So anecdotally, we have evidence that it's not just in the United States that this experience is having, again, an uneven impact, revealing, of course, the disparities in terms of vulnerability to all kinds of threats that track with structural inequality, injustice, racism, and other kinds of isms that have been with us for seemingly forever, that are a deep groove, a deep facet, a deep aspect of our culture and our lives. So how does mindfulness support us in being with all of this? Again, the S.T.O.P practice as an acronym. As we receive information like this, that's quite difficult. The invitation again, and I want to broaden this out, not just invitation about racial disparities or identity-based disparities in the incidence and deleterious effects of coronavirus. But really, when we receive any kind of information, all of the information that's coming into us consciously and unconsciously during this moment, a lot of it is difficult for us to bear, and a lot of it is shedding new light on aspects of our experience that had been a little hidden. So we're seeing ways that the environment is responding to our pauses, as just one example. How do we then maybe use the STOP acronym to support us in really being present to these messages of our time? Once again, the S, stop. Take a deep breath. Consciously breathing in and breathing out. First approximation, mindfulness of the body. What happens in the body when we receive difficult information about the incidence of coronavirus, or receive positive information about what's happening in the environment right now? Feel our way into a way of inviting the pauses that can be a part of our mindfulness practice, and the moments within which we are taking these conscious breaths. See if you can open up to observing what there is to know in this moment that we didn't know before. So if we can focus in on the racial disparity information, for example, noticing thoughts, emotions, sensations that come up when we are reminded that there are racial structural inequalities around race and racism. And not only that, but just to take that for a moment, what comes up for us in our bodies? Can we breathe in and out as we feel? For some of us, for me, quite painful to realize what these inequalities mean for vulnerability to this very, very devastating illness, and then the ripple effects of that. Can we turn toward the suffering as we bear witness to it through these news reports? Can we observe what comes up in us when we're invited to see more of that suffering? And can we do that with a kindness to ourselves, right? Because it's not easy for us to create space and spaciousness for seeing what we hadn't seen before. But can we nevertheless stay with this? Stay willing to drop in more deeply and to be with those for whom this isn't optional, right? There are many for whom it is not optional to see the disparate impacts of this disease. We are living in these communities. Our loved ones are dying. So if we who are more privileged relatively to those who are suffering more right now can invite more of that capacity to see and be with that suffering, and then from there, inquire, what might we do as we proceed from our practices, as we move from, let's say, the cushion, if you will, of pausing and reflecting with kindness and compassion, breathing in and breathing out, and opening up to the love in our hearts that wishes to alleviate the suffering of others. How might we, in the steps that we take from here, actually help alleviate the suffering of others? This, to me, is an opportunity for deep, community engaged mindfulness. So we might take these practices more richly and rightly into communities and invite the same kinds of inquiries. Because, as many of you all know, what we're going through right now is much more than a momentary disruption or adaptation, which we're just going to move through and everything's going to go back to normal. More and more, I think we're getting the messages that tell us we're in a moment of profound, if nothing else, opportunity to pause, reflect, and really see what there is to be seen about the consequences of the way we have been living, the way we have structured our societies, such that some of us are thriving and more comfortable than others. And through this moment where we're pausing and remembering how important it is that we have each other as human beings in this community, may we figure out ways to invoke practices like the stop practice as a support for more deeply seeing what there is to be seen as we stop, take a breath, and observe, seeing the social and community consequences of the way we've been living, and then inviting into deeper and deeper circles of connection and conversation, wise engagement with the possibilities coming out of this moment. So stop, take a breath, observe, proceed in the direction of profound possibility from here. I thank you all for taking these moments out of your day to join with me. I look forward to connecting with you here through mindful.org and online. You can find me on Facebook and all the different ways. I have a website as well. So I just wanted to say thank you all for being here, and may we continue in this broadening of this circle of concern, broadening of our connected community despite being near and far. We're in it together, my friends, my family, my human family, my more than human family on this beautiful planet Earth. We're in it together, and may we deepen our ability to heal ourselves and strengthen our communities through these practices that we call mindfulness. Much love to you all. May you be well, safe, and strong. Stay resourced, stay connected, stay mindfully engaged with what works. Thank you.